What is up, everyone? Recently I participated in the Greninja Cup, which is a Pokemon GO PvP tournament with a fun rule set organized by Niantic. I faced a lot of good battlers in there, including the 2022 Play Pokemon Senior World Champion Emmy Weedle. And I had some incredible battles versus him as well as everyone else I faced. I ended up winning the tournament 7-0, and today I want to showcase the best battles. Before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to Niantic. He's a friend, he's an incredible battler. He's also on YouTube and Twitch, so go give him a follow there, links in the description. And he hosts a lot of tournaments, especially Great League practice tournaments for those who want to improve their skills for the competitive circuit, but also tournaments with carefully crafted custom rule sets with usually prize money involved. Like for the Greninja Cup, he actually put up 250 bucks, which is awesome. So thank you very much, Martijn, for hosting these tournaments. Always very fun participating in them, and I do like taking your money, so keep it up. And if you want to join these kind of tournaments, put the link in the description down below to his Discord where he hosts them. About the Greninja Cup rule set, it was crafted in such a way to have Greninja be the absolute best Pokemon in this format by far. So only Fire, Ghost, Ground, Ice and Psychic Pokemon were allowed. All types where Greninja generally has a favorable matchup, and all types where Greninja doesn't do that well were banned. For extra balance, some extra Pokemon were banned, like the Yox and Wobbuffet, because even though they're Psychic types, they do too good against Greninja. And a couple Pokemon were added, like the Dark Poisons, Bombardier, Pangoro, and Vullaby, because besides having like a neutral matchup versus Greninja, they also have flexible play across the rest of the meta. And flexible play is really the idea of this whole format, because with Greninja being so strong here, most matches don't really end up being that rock, paper, scissors, as you have at least one Pokemon on your team that has flexible play against almost everything on the opponent's squad. So you're gonna see a lot of games come down to who can really set up their Greninja better, which in my opinion made this format really interesting to play. In a meta where everyone will be running Greninja, it is definitely a good idea to run one with a higher attack stat to take the charge attack priority versus opposing Greninja and win the mirror match. However, I only have one Greninja for Great League, and it is basically the lowest attack stat possible. Like, the attack is so low that I even lose the charge attack priority versus the rank 1 Greninja. So going into this, I knew my Greninja would lose the mirror match versus probably all other Greninja here. And that was very bad news. However, I tried making up for that by creating a team of 6 where basically every Pokemon has play versus Greninja. To do that, I started with adding the hardest counter to Greninja in this format, Shadow Alakazam with counter. Because if you use a 1 shield in that matchup, you can just fully farm down Greninja, which is quite nice. As a third, I added Diggersby, which even though it has a negative type matchup versus Greninja, because, you know, water super effective versus ground, it just outbulks Greninja so much that with the combination of Quick Attack Scorching Sand or even Mutual Scorching Sand, you can make that matchup really close. Then as a 5th and 6th, I added Drapion and Bombardier because they face up very neutrally versus Greninja. And Drapion as well also has a very flexible moveset. In this format, you are allowed to TM your Pokemon between opponents. So upon seeing your opponent's team of 6, you're allowed to TM every single one of your Pokemon through a moveset of your liking. And Drapion has a lot of moves in his arsenal, so I could change it depending on what opponent I was facing. After these 5, I felt pretty weak to opposing Alakazam, so I put Gligar on the squad as well, as it has a good matchup there. Looking back at the team now the tournament's over, I'm pretty happy with the decisions I've made, but there's one Pokemon in particular, Charizard, I wish I added to my team. I think that behind Greninja, Charizard's probably the best Pokemon here. You'll see why later. Anyway, let's get into the battle, starting off in round 1, where I'll be facing off against Triptondo, who's running a team of Shadow Alakazam, Girafarig, Greninja, Diggersby, Evolok, and Beartic. On first sight, very good matchup for me, as Shadow Alakazam really doesn't have any real counters, but Alakazam can definitely not carry. It is way too squishy for that, even versus a Pokemon like Evolok, where you're doing super effective damage with counter and Fire Punch. That's actually a losing matchup, as long as they have a shield, because Ice Fang is doing more versus you than counter is doing versus them, which is just crazy, but that's just how bulk works in this game. Luckily though, Greninja is also looking very good. As always, just have to watch out for that Alakazam with counter and the double kick Girafarig, which I can cover with my Drapion. I'm running a pretty special moveset on Drapion in this set with Infestation, Aqua Tail, and Sludge Bomb, because Infestation is good for the Alakazam, Girafarig, and the Greninja. Anyway, in game 1, I lead into the Girafarig. This is a good matchup for Alakazam. Could easily take a Psychic Fangs here, so just let it go. Well, easily. I'm an Alakazam, it still does quite a bit, and now these double kicks are really starting to add up. I throw my Fire Punch right before I can get to another Psychic Fangs. Let this go, that's fine. They shield it, or we let my Alakazam go. Just farm over Drapion. They bring in their own Zam. Luckily, I'm able to get to another Fire Punch here. This would likely take a shield. Which it does, because, I mean, otherwise it would have knocked out. Out comes Drapion now. And I pace pretty quickly through these Aqua Tails. Not before they get to a Fire Punch here, though. Just going to shield it up. This point. Just going to shield up my Drapion. Get to an Aqua Tail right before they can get to... Well, actually, not right before they get to another Fire Punch. I threw it actually kind of instantly. Because I don't want to take more counter damage. Because that health is kind of valuable. I have Greninja on the back. I really don't want to farm this now with Greninja because I take so much damage from counters. So I stay in with Drapion, shield up the Fire Punch. They brought out Greninja now, not want to get farmed down, but I have Sludge Bomb. This does a ton here. And now I should be able to bring in my own Greninja, get to the Night Slash, knock this out, and then farm down the Alakazam. As long as I don't get the 2 moves here. They should only have 1 Hydro Cannon though. And yes, they only have 1 Hydro Cannon as I get off my Night Slash here. This will knock out the Greninja. And then, can I farm down the Alakazam before it farms me down? Just barely. GG there. It's actually game 2 for best of 3, which I ended up winning 2-1. I won't be showing you the other battles though, because I've heard to show all 3 battles of all 7 matches. The video would just be way too long, so I'll cut some out here and there. In round 2, I'm up against Shox, who's running Shadow Alakazam, Shadow Gligar, Greninja, Diggersby, Jellicent, and Shadow Alolan Sandslash. Pretty even matchup, I would say, as he has answers for everything on my team, and I have answers for everything on his. So I go with a consistent strategy, which has worked all throughout the tournament for me, which is Shadow Alakazam in lead with Greninja as a pivot. Shadow Alakazam does pick up quite a bit of leads here. Diggersby, A-Slash, and Greninja would all be fine, as well as the Mirror, of course. And if I do end up losing lead versus Gligar or Jellicent, I can switch into Greninja, and nothing on his squad besides the Alakazam can really deal with the Greninja up energy. And if the Alakazam were to switch in, I can take at least 1 shield there, and then farm it down with the Gligar, which I am packing in the back here. We are now facing a mirror lead though, and this is probably even better because now I know my Greninja is going to be kind of free in the back. Really only have to worry about his own Greninja, which I'm expecting. We're going to go for the Fire Punch here on CMP, which I luckily do win. My Alakazam does have some attack, so I was expecting to maybe win the CMP tie there. Just let this go at this point. I could have gone for a mutual counter down, but I preferred just trying to farm it down with Gligar. They do not allow that to happen though and switch in their own Gligar. Since I'm expecting a better answer to Gligar in the back, like their own Greninja most likely, I'm deciding to stay in. Because what I don't want to happen is to instant switch my Greninja in here, win this matchup, then get countered by Alakazam, and then have their Greninja versus my Gligar. That'd be pretty bad, so I decided to throw 1 Aerial Ace, take 2 here. At this point, their Gligar is in a range where I can fully farm it down with Greninja. And they've thrown all their energy, so I'm not too worried about taking a move here, as I still have 2 shields, and I can use 1 on this move from Gligar. And now that I have almost 2 Night Slashers stored up, or 2 at this point, I'm really not that worried about the Alakazam at this point, because it won't really get too many moves in me. It doesn't end up being Greninja in the back, actually. My opponent decided not to bring Greninja. Apparently, he was too afraid of my Alakazam, he told me. And this is actually the only opponent you'll see not bring Greninja against me. Everyone else did. But this definitely confused me. And I thought it was kind of smart, to be honest, because you're always expecting Greninja. So if you're not bringing Greninja, you can really throw your opponents off guard by making them think you have Greninja, but you actually have something else. This time it did not end up working out for my opponent though. I get to the Hydro. This will definitely knock out the Diggersby, and that's a good game. I end up winning this best of 3, 2-1. In round 3, I'm up versus Scarlet Wiz, who's running a squad with Steelix, Hisuian Quillfish, Greninja, Diggersby, Jellicent, and Alolan Sandslash. No Alakazam on the opposing side, which makes my Greninja pretty free to use, either as a lead or as a pivot. But because my Greninja is most likely gonna lose CMP versus the opposing Greninja, I decide not to lead it, and instead go with a strong lead to Greninja in the Alakazam. So just the basic strategy, Alakazam lead, Greninja pivot, this time Diggersby in the back, mainly cover for the Hisuian Quillfish. Great lead there with Alakazam into Greninja, exactly what I want to see. They switch into their Gligar, they throw Aerial Ace immediately, which I thought was interesting, as this doesn't really threaten me, I thought. But you're going to see it, actually going to be able to farm me down before I get the 3 Hydros, which is definitely not ideal. I get the 2 here though, right before I get to the Aerial Ace. I didn't want them to be able to do 1 wing attack and throw the Aerial Ace before I threw my Hydro Cannon if I were to throw in good timing. So I decided to just throw it immediately, give him a full sneak, which is not ideal, but I don't think I would have gotten to my Hydro Cannon anyway had I thrown on good timing. So throwing it immediately, I felt like was the proper call there. Anyway, they double shielded. Now they've gotten switch advantage, which is definitely not ideal. And this Gligar is still healthy. I have a Diggersby which can take this out, but I have to throw a full Hyper Beam at them, which they actually decided to catch or try to catch on their Diggersby. Luckily, I kind of saw it coming and I didn't throw my move just yet. I was patient with it. Now I can bring in my Alakazam versus Diggersby, but this is still not an amazing matchup. As you can see, those quick attacks are really adding up. almost as much as the super effective counters are, and I have to throw my Fire Punch before they get off their Fire Punch, otherwise I'd have to use another shield. Now I have a bunch of energy on my Diggersby, I have a bunch of energy on my Alakazam, so I actually decide to bring in their Greninja here, take this energy from my Alakazam, and then probably hope they can farm me down with Gligar and then get off 2 moves towards my Diggersby, but they would need 3 even, and I already have a Hyper Beam stored, so the game at that point was just over because of that extremely dominant lead I had there, and was able to retain that advantage throughout the match. GG. This match I ended up winning 3-0, by the way. Round 4 up versus Ryblet was running a very similar team to my previous opponent, just running Drapion on Savasur and Quillfish, and Jellicent instead of the Gligar. With the Jellicent, they are stronger versus my Alakazam and Diggersby, but this doesn't deter me from running my basic Shadowzam, Greninja, Diggersby team, as I wasn't expecting their Jellicent to come out, since I do have 3 Dark types to basically hard wall it. So I lead my Alakazam game 1, and what do I see? A Jellicent. This is the worst case scenario. I switch into Diggersby, which by the way is running a triple ground moveset, as I figured I didn't really need Hyper Beam here to knock out a flying type. Actually, I was initially gonna go Hyper Beam. I hadn't even thought about triple ground at all, but when I was TMing to Hyper Beam, I just couldn't get it, and I got stuck on Earthquake, and then I started thinking about it, and I thought, yeah, actually I don't need Hyper Beam, I'll just get Earthquake. And it's gonna come in very handy already in his first game. Greninja comes out. They think there's only Scorching Sands, won't do that much, but Earthquake almost nukes it. There's so much. Now in farm down range for my own Greninja, frankly. I could come in Alakazam, of course, to counter it down, but they are at another Night Slash. And I'm expecting them to throw it immediately, thinking the Alakazam that is going to come out to counter it down. So I bring in Greninja, hoping they throw a Night Slash, but actually throw Hydro Cannon, which is very smart, as that would pretty much knock out Alakazam as well. This does a lot of damage on my Greninja, not ideal. Out comes Alolan Sandslash now. Greninja is core breaking the rest of their team, which is good. However, I don't think Greninja has enough health remaining to take out both Jellicent and Alolan Sandslash. I have one hope here. Can I save 2 shields for Alakazam? And a Hydro Cannon, yes, because I called the bait there. They were to Juron, but luckily they only went Ice Punch there. Which allows my Greninja to survive there. Instant switch Alakazam, they saw it coming, so they switch into their Jellicent. Luckily it's Bubble. Hex charges faster, and now because it's Bubble, I might be able to get to Fire Punch, Shadow Ball before they get to the 3rd Surf. It's gonna get very close though. Gonna be at another Surf right now. Shield is up. Can I reach the Shadow Ball before they reach another Surf? It's gonna be a race. Come on Alakazam, I need 4 counters. And I get there. This will knock out their Jellicent, but now, can I farm down the Alolan Sandslash? I think it might still get to a move. Let's see. Actually, it farms me down, but I have a move loaded on Greninja, and that, probably one of the closest game I had this tournament. GG there. After this match, this was game 1, by the way. Game 2, we run the same line, and as you can see, this one I lose, and then in the final game, I don't want to show the full final game, but I end up winning because of a debuff. It was pretty great. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. This is the end of the final game. I'm going to come in Diggersby into this Greninja. By the way, they boost, but that doesn't matter because they switch out. I'm going to throw Scorching Sands immediately, and I end up getting the debuff here. Look at this. Look at this. Beautiful. Beautiful. And now I can survive the Surfs and get to the Earthquake. I think without the debuff, I would not have survived. I'm actually very, very close now. I don't think I would have survived. Yeah, look at this Surf. This is going to put me deep into the red. I think. Yeah, look at that. And I just go straight for Earthquake. And this knocks out the Jellicent. So, bit lucky there. But you know what? We take that. Actually, this entire tournament, my Greninja did not boost once. So, you know, getting a little bit lucky there with Scorching Sands. I'll take that. GG, I end up winning this match 2-1. My round 5 opponent is Guido, an incredible battler we have faced many times and was also my teammate back when I used to do team tournaments. I know Guido as the RPS god, and having him on my team was great, as whenever I needed to just call a lead or call a line to win a match, I would be like, hey Guido, what do you think my opponent's gonna run? And 8 out of 10 times, he was completely correct or close enough to correct, which was great. However, playing against him sucks, because he will run the absolute most ridiculous lines just to hard counter you, and honestly, usually he's right. He kind of gets in my head, to be honest, and this time I was like, okay, this time I got you, alright? My Alakazam looks incredible versus his line, so I thought he would think that I would lead it, most likely, which means that he is not gonna bring something weak to Alakazam in the lead, like, you know, Greninja that's currently on the screen. So I'm gonna lead either Greninja or Diggersby, since I don't want to be weak to the Steelix in the lead either, because if you lead Steelix and you're weak to it and you gotta switch out, then it can just breaking swipe, drop your attack, and then you're debuffed and switch locked, which is not ideal. So either Greninja or Diggersby, and I decided to go with Greninja, because if I were to go with Diggersby lead, I would just be too weak versus an opposing Greninja lead. So I'll go with my own Greninja. Worst case scenario, I'll face his Greninja here as I lose CMP. It's a pretty bad matchup. Yeah, what do you know? You know, of course, Guido calls my lead, and it's Greninja. Oh, maybe he didn't call my lead, but he did not do what I wanted him to do. I lose CMP here, most definitely, because I have basically the lowest attack Greninja possible. So I actually have a plan here. This is important. Whenever I go into a match, I always have a plan for whatever lead I face. First Greninja lead, it was going to be throw Hydro Cannon at a double Hydro Cannon, take one of his, shield the next, and then switch out into Alakazam without throwing my Hydro Cannon to do 2 counters before I can switch out. So executing the plan right now, I go for this Hydro Cannon here, and then I change up the plan. Just mid-battle. Don't do this. Okay, I was like, during the battle, I just goofed. I was like, if I'm gonna shield a move on my Greninja, I might as well just shield it on Alakazam. But the problem here is that I only get 1 counter in. And they see my Alakazam now. They can react quickly. I should have not done this. I should have just shielded the move on my Greninja and then brought out Alakazam, because I would have gotten multiple counters in before they were able to react. Mistake there. Mistake. To bring out the Shoe and Quillfish. Not the worst, but this thing can fully farm me down. Do have a move ready on my Greninja though, which I could decide to bring in and throw now, but I could also bring in Diggersby to farm down this Quillfish. I opt to go with Greninja. Problem is, if he shoots here, he can definitely farm me down. So after I throw his move, I can't switch actually. I can't switch. I would have switched if I could switch, but I can't switch. I just gotta let my Greninja go and now hope that my Diggersby is able to sweep. So I try to fully farm down this Quillfish at this point. At this point, I'm still feeling pretty good about this, because worst case scenario, it's Beartic in the back and I Fire Punch. And I'm not expecting Beartic in the back. If he brings Beartic, I was actually expecting Charm Beartic, because that's a good moveset versus Greninja. It's freaking Powder Snow Beartic, which is so bad for my Diggersby. Now I'm going to have to throw my next Fire Punch before the next move of this Beartic. For the next Ice Punch. Going to overfarm by 1, throw the Fire Punch here. This should knock out. By the way, if I just let Alakazam, this would have been such an easy game. Such an easy game. As both the Greninja and Beartic just lose pretty hard versus it. So yeah, I kind of outplayed myself there by not doing the comfortable plan and instead trying to 5-head my opponent. Still, might be possible if I get to another Fire Punch here, but unfortunately Guido takes this game. Luckily though, I do end up leading Alakazam game 2 into Quillfish, which wasn't great. But I do end up winning both the final matches, which you won't watch, otherwise the video will be too long. So I did win 2-1 versus Guido. GG's. My 6th round opponent is Emmy Weedle, who's running a very strong team with Jellicent, Diggersby, Greninja, Alolan Sandslash, Shadow Charizard, and Stunfisk. His thought process around the team is exactly the opposite of mine. Where I try to go as neutral or strong against Greninja as possible, he has actually no answers to Greninja except for his own. And this might seem kind of dumb at first, because, you know, we're playing the actual Greninja Cup. You better bring some counters. But it's actually very smart. You see, Greninja is quite squishy. So all of these Pokemon, except for maybe Jellicent, have a ton of play against Greninja, because they either just outbulk him or outspeed him, like in Charizard case. If Charizard has one shield advantage, it absolutely destroys Greninja. Besides that, his team is built in such a way to where all my other Pokemon are pretty hard to bring. Alakazam is double hard countered and doesn't do that well versus Diggersby or Stunfisk either. Diggersby really doesn't have any targets here except for the Galarian Stunfisk. Gligar, triple hard countered. Drapion, triple hard countered. Bombardier really doesn't have any good matchups here again except for Jellicent. This means that my Greninja is like the only good Pokemon I have, and it will be spread way too thinly against his team. So I gotta make some good lineup calls in order to have a chance here. 2 Pokemon I'm definitely expecting from here are the Greninja, of course, and the Shadow Charizard, as it does very good against my whole team, except for Greninja. But even Greninja loses when it's a shield down. So I'm very scared of the Shadow Charizard here. It's actually why I won't be bringing the Shadow Alakazam, even though I'm expecting Weedle's line to be pretty weak against the Shadow Alakazam, because I could definitely see him bringing Diggersby or Alolan Sandslash alongside the Greninja, which would make him double weak to Alakazam. And I also think he's gonna lead the Greninja or the Diggersby or the Alolan Sandslash, which would make Alakazam lead like super strong. However, Alakazam does lose the zero shield scenario versus all of these Pokemon, which means that if I want to win the lead, I'm gonna have to use a shield. And if I use a shield, Charizard comes in, gets some energy, Blast burns my life. Game over. So I can't do that. I actually just can't do that. So instead, I'm just going to bring 3 Pokemon, which are good to neutral against Charizard, Greninja, Drapion, and Diggersby. Now we're just going to decide the lead though. I think Mibido has two possible strategies here. 1, lead Diggersby or Alolan Sandslash with Charizard in the back and Greninja in the middle. If he sees a Greninja lead, he can just stay in, chip my Greninja enough to where Charizard doesn't have an issue with it anymore. Or a second strategy is lead Greninja and basically do the same thing. If he doesn't see my Greninja in the lead, probably switch into his Diggersby and then try to lure out my Greninja. And once Greninja is lured out, Charizard is gonna sweep. Those are my thought processes on what I think Mibido's gonna play. And to cover for both of those options, I'm gonna lead my Drapion. That would be bad if there's a Diggersby lead, of course. But if there's a Greninja lead, Drapion is pretty neutral there, I can take it out, and then my Greninja should be pretty free in the back. If it's Diggersby lead, I'm also fine with that, because I bring in Greninja, and I can throw... I'm also thinking it's going to be Quick Attack Diggersby if he has Diggersby, which means I can throw my Hydro Cannon before they get to the Scorching Sands, and I can also throw it on good timing. So that's my thought process here. I would really like to run Greninja lead, actually. I think Greninja lead is the way to go, but I don't want to be stuck in the mirror because I'm going to lose that very hard as I have a very low attack Greninja. So I can't do that here. So lead Drapion, and unfortunately it's against the Alolan Sandslash, which the same strategy as the Diggersby applies, but this is much worse. Because I don't really want to throw my Hydro Cannon immediately, as then I get a full free Shadow Claw in, which would be bad. I don't want that to happen. So I have to overfarm. I don't get off a Hydro Cannon versus our Alolan Sandslash now, and they're free to bring in their Greninja. Just fine, I do have an energy lead. I think Mibido thinks he loses CMP, so actually doesn't throw. Doesn't know that I have basically the lowest attack Greninja out there yet, which is actually going to work in my favor in multiple of these matches, actually. Gonna throw a Night Slash here. I'm just going to let it go. I don't really have a great response to this Greninja now, though. I have nothing to farm it down with. I'm not running Aqua Tail on my Drapion, by the way, because even though it is super effective versus Charizard, Crunch Tail does slightly more. Didn't feel like it was necessary, and I was still kind of worried about the Jellicent as well. I could be running Aqua Tail and Sludge to still do damage versus this Greninja, but then I'm like walled by Jellicent, and I did not want that to happen. This is just a Night Slash, I can let it go. Should be right? Yeah, just a Night Slash. Maybe I should not have done that though. I was hoping this would be farm range for my Diggersby. Might not have been though. Out comes Shadow Charizard now. This is actually a winning matchup for Diggersby if you can manage to bait, so not the worst. I'm gonna bait here. If he lets it go, that's just straight up game over. But if he shields it, I should be able to win once here. He will be able to hit another Blast Burn though, which is really bad for me. Yeah, hits another Blast Burn. No debuff, so this will do a ton, but it still doesn't knock me out. Even with the buff, it would do a ton, to be honest. But look at that. I barely survived. I get to the high premium. This knocks out. Bye-bye. But now, I mean, Drapion, there's just too much to do. There's too much to do. I forget what side my Crunch is on, so I throw Sludge Bomb. And yeah, this is not intentional, but it is funny. It would not have mattered. I would not have, even if I took out the Sandslash with double Crunch, I would have still lost that game. So yeah, GG there. Next game, same 3. I decided to lead Diggersby instead. I think he might be trying to go with the same strategy, as this is just a very smart strat, honestly. If I lead my Greninja into this Alolan Sandslash, Alolan Sandslash gets the Greninja low enough to where a Charizard can farm it down, basically. Because I have to use 2 moves on the Alolan Sandslash as well. And if I lead Alakazam, I mean, this might seem like super weak to Alakazam. They get to the move before I get to my Fire Punch, and they win zeros, and then Zard shield advantage to sweep. So I'm thinking he thinks it's a super strong strategy, and he's just going to keep playing it. So I try to hard counter it this game. Since it's Shadow Claw, Alolan Sandslash, Diggersby, it does very well there. In comes Greninja now. Honestly, I played this a bit bad, I think. I should come in with my Drapion immediately into Greninja. I don't know why I didn't, honestly. This is just a big mistake. Because even, I'm going to lose that matchup most likely, but that's fine. I probably get off a Sludge Bomb or 2, either take 2 shields or get the Greninja low. And then I have no Pokemon weak to Alolan Sandslash anymore, which will be fine too. This is not too bad either, though. This is not too bad either, because I have just gotten rid of Greninja, basically. And even though I'm lacking alignment, my Greninja is so strong against Alolan Sandslash and the likely Zard in the back that I'm pretty likely to sweep this game. I knew this was only going to be a Night Slash, so I take it on my Greninja. Did a little bit of energy charging on my Drapion there, took a Hydro, and then I switched it to my Greninja. This is all just a game of energy now, because I know there's a Zard lurking in the back, and I want as many moves loaded as possible before that Pokemon comes in, to just give it absolutely no chance to do anything. I'm going to throw a Night Slash here right before I can get to a Duran. This should knock it out with the Let Go, which he does, knowing that I have another move loaded, so there's really no point. Out comes Charizard now. Go for Night Slash here. We'll do a ton anyway, and I will be able to farm out Water Shurikens to Let Go, so I felt pretty safe baiting there. This is a stupid bait. I don't think I reached another Night Slash anyway. I should have just gone for Hydro. I wasn't sure how much a Crunch would do, so I actually throw a couple Water Shurikens here, knowing that there aren't the 2 Dragon Claws anyway, so I was safe to throw that extra Water Shuriken to get the fast damage in, so the Crunch now definitely knocks out. You saw me tap on the left there. I don't know why. Again, I thought the Crunch was on the left. I don't know how I make that same mistake in 2 games in a row, but I did. Luckily, it did not end up mattering though. Okay, this next game, I'm feeling ballsy. I'm thinking he's going to do the same strat. This time, I'm bringing the Zam. Still, like I said, he can win zeros here, so I have a plan for this. I'm not going to allow that to happen. I want shields. I want to keep my shields. And I want to keep my Zam too. Because I want the Zam healthy for the Greninja. So I catch the Ice Punch on the Greninja. Which is great. Out comes their Greninja. I can go for the Hydro Cannon now. Again, I lose CMP here. Weedle does not know that. So he doesn't throw his own. Also, Hydro Cannon from him would not have knocked out yet. So I think he smartly goes for the Night Slash here. Yeah, he does. That's very smart. Because he needs 2 of those to knock out anyway. He gets the boost. Which is kind of big, but it's not really gonna matter. I'll explain later why it's actually big. 2 Water Shurikens. At this point, I was afraid that those 2 boosted Water Shurikens that he hit would put me in range where the Alolan Sandslash could farm me down before I farm them down. Because Shadow Claw still is a lot. And I need this move for the Charizard, so I wouldn't be able to Fire Punch it. Luckily, Weedle doesn't think that's possible. He switches in Charizard, and I'm gonna go for the Shadow Ball right now. At this point, the game is looking very good. I can bring in Drapion. I have a shield advantage. The Alolan Sandslash is energy dry, so I'm looking extremely nice here. I'm just gonna shoot up whatever. The Dragon Claw, that's okay. I'm gonna throw a Crunch basically right away. All I have to do is make sure I'm 1 over the Crunch basically, because then I'll outpace the Alolan Sandslash to a move. Just shield this. Easy. Even if it's a Dragon Claw, that's fine. Go for 1 more Poison Sting. Go for the Crunch, and now I easily outpace Alolan Sandslash as well. Bye-bye Zard. Yeah, and now the Alolan Sandslash shouldn't get to another move. Get to the Crunch, and that's a very good game. GG's. Weedle made it very tough for me there, even though I had a very bad lead. So GG. By the way, we simmed it, or actually Weedle simmed it afterwards, and had he come in with his Alolan Sandslash into my Alakazam there, I would have survived the 2 Shadow Claws, or a couple of Shadow Claws that he would have hit at 1 HP. So, yeah, that's how close it was. That's how close it was. After that extremely close win, I'm now up in the Grand Finals versus Chocho, who's running Galarian Slowbro, Diggersby, Greninja, Shadow Alakazam, regular Zard. Thank goodness not Shadow, because I didn't want to deal with that again. I think regular Zard's a little more manageable, and Shadow Steelix, which is actually kind of scary for my squad as well. Both Greninja and Alakazam really don't do that well against it, and Gligar, same deal. So Diggersby is really my only answer to it, so definitely run that. Then I'm definitely bringing Greninja, and one thing I also noticed is that Gligar's very good here. Like, besides the Greninja, maybe it's Diggersby, Gligar does pretty well here. So I'm gonna take a note out of Weedle's book here and run a team that's ABA weak, or front and back weak, to Greninja with Diggersby lead, Greninja middle, and Gligar in the back. And we face, honestly, the perfect lead. This is, of course, a losing matchup for Diggersby, but it's fine enough, especially with quick attack here, to where a Diggersby can put the Greninja in a situation where it's either low enough to where I can farm it down with the Gligar, or at least take a shield so I can take it out with the Greninja. I take a shield here, at this point I'm very fine just letting my Diggersby go down, because I can bring in my Greninja and just Hydro Cannon it. Out comes my Greninja now. Unfortunately, I lag a turn, which means that I don't sneak in a Water Shuriken here. Pretty, just gonna be pretty bad for what comes in after this. I can only overfarm by 1 Water Shuriken, because otherwise I would get to another Hydro, which I don't want to take. Unfortunately, I only have 1 like Water Shuriken of residual energy now instead of 2, which I should have had, which means I can't get to the Night Slash here against Alakazam without taking too much counter damage. Bringing my Gligar now. In comes Charizard. This is not that bad of a matchup for Gligar. I can just go for my first aerial ace here. I'm looking very fine here. There's 2 options that could happen here now. I'm going to shield this move. I either take both shields from the Zard, or they let their Zard go. If I take both shields, Greninja farms down, Night Slash Shazam. If they let Charizard go, I can get to an aerial ace first Shazam, and then I can Night Slash it with my Greninja. So I'm looking very good at this point. My opponent makes it even better though by over farming a little bit there, which is going to make this even easier. Ultimately, it didn't really matter though, because they were already checkmate at that point. They don't allow him to get to a move, which is a good play, good counting by them. But yeah, I have Greninja loaded with energy, 1 Water Shuriken, and this will take out the Alakazam, and that wins me the first game of this best of 3. In the next 2 games, I actually end up leading my Alakazam into their Greninja twice in a row, and I end up winning both of those matchups as well. So I end up winning the Grand Finals 3-0, and I win the entire tournament. Thanks again, Inadequance, for hosting the tournament, and GG's to all my opponents. For everyone watching, thank you very much. If you enjoy this type of video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. These videos do take more effort than the standard GBL videos. If you like it, please show it some love, because then I know I should make more of them. Anyway, thank you very much. See you later. Good luck with your battle streamers.